Please be seated. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marianne Burnham. I am the Secretary of the St. James North Branch, and I'd like to welcome you to our annual general meeting this Sunday, August 11th. We're glad that you're here to join us today. I want to recognize Senator Chad Blackman, Senator Andwele Boyce, Jefferson Payne, Election Officer of the Barbados Labour Party, President of the branch, DeCarla Applewhite, branch executive, branch members, media, ladies and gentlemen, just welcome again to our meeting. At this time, I will hand over to the person who's saying the prayer. And that would be me. Just bow your heads. God, we thank you for this day and that we are alive and that we're breathing. We thank you that you've brought us here safely to this meeting at Garden Greenwich. We ask that you allow those who are traveling here to get here safely. We ask that you guide our thoughts and our actions today at this AGM. I ask that you guide the president of the branch, all of the ministers who are speaking, and everyone that's here. Help us to make proper decisions for the running of this branch. And I ask you to please bless, help, and cover us. All these things I pray and ask in Jesus' name, for Christ's sake. Amen. Amen. All right. So at this time, we'll have the minutes of the last annual general meeting, which are not present at this time. We'll have the minutes and the matters arising at another time. At this time, I'd like to invite DeCarla Applewhite to give her president's report.
Good evening, and thank you very much, Marianne, for chairing this evening's meeting. Marianne has been the secretary of the branch, and she gives us human service year in, year out. And I was so pleased when she accepted the offer to chair this evening's meeting. This evening, we do have with us our guest speaker, Senator the Honorable Chad Blackman. He's flanked himself in the back, and I believe he's running from the sun up front here. So please beg his pardon at this time, but he will be joining us at our head table very shortly. Also, the Honourable Member of Parliament for St. James North, Edmund Hinkson, who regrets his late arrival, but he is on his way, having returned to the island just last night. So I know he's trying to blend lots of things together and get here all in one. We hope that he gets here safely and not necessarily in that rush. He's here. He will live long. Thank you, Chair, and good evening, Honourable Edmund G. Hinkson, Member of Parliament for St. James North, Senator the Honourable Chad Blackman, special guests, fellow constituents, comrades all. I am DeCarla Applewhite, and I was the President for the 2023-2024 year. It has been my pleasure to serve as your President. This year was one of remobilization and revitalization of the branch. Coming out of the uncertainty and fear of the pandemic, admittedly, this was a breakout, or should I say, breakpoint year, as we regained our footing to charge a new path forward. The executive, recognized as busy persons from all walks of life and from the cadre of districts in St. James North, gave of their time and expertise in this mission. For those who made the time to attend meetings, both at the executive and community level, fill roles and execute, the branch extends a heartfelt thanks to you. The 2023-24 executive comprises of Vice President Christina Haynes, Secretary Marianne Burnham, Treasurer Stacey Medford, Assistant Secretary Treasurer Keela Jordan, Public Relations Officer Samantha Edwards, floor members Edison Aline, Fabian Thornhill, Jude Eastman, and O'Brien Brewster. As the term 2023 to 2024 continues, as President of the branch, I submit to you the report of the ongoing since our last AGM. Noting some capital development improvements of St. James North, which extends into what I like to call St. Peter South, Roadview, Ashton Hall, the Wim Bakers, to name a few landmarks. 24 roads have been fixed. Highway 1's mill and pave program has been completed. Rockdundo is still an ongoing challenge. The lights at Westmoreland have been reprogrammed to allow for better flow of traffic. The new fish market is almost done, and we're looking forward to the restoration of the decommissioned fire station to be repurposed as a satellite office of the Coastal Zone Management Unit to better manage the St. James coastline. We look forward to the commencement of the drainage management plan to be included in the building of the new Civic Center at the Trent's location, with the flood remediation plan and rebates for the affected. These points have been highlighted at previous St. James Speaks meetings. We thank our comrades who lobbied tirelessly for these improvements. Comrades Phil Lucas, Sandy Fields Kelman, Pamela Small-Williams have led the charge on some of these issues, and we acknowledge their advocacy, to name a few. The St. James North Branch continue to collaborate with our sister parish constituencies in an effort to bolster attendance of meetings, foster camaraderie, and consolidate resources under the banner St. James Riding Strong. The first of these joint meetings was held October 8, 2023 at the Queen's College School, chaired by Senator Gregory Nichols and under the auspices of the MPs for the St. James constituencies. Our own Honourable Edmund Hinkson, Senior Minister, the Honourable Kerry Simmons, and the Honourable Sandra Husbands, Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, and guest speaker, the Honourable Dwight Sutherland, Minister of Housing, Lands and Maintenance. Our first co-branch meeting was in with St. James Central, Sunday, November 26, 2023, at the St. James Central Constituency House. Dubbed the Independent Social and Branch Meeting, it opened with guest speakers from the League of the Young Socialists under the theme, Coming Together to Shape Our Nation's Future. With perspectives for shaping the Republic from Dr. William Chandler, Khalil Kodiwala, President of the League of Young Socialists, Roshana Trim, moderated by Ross Maynard, a fellow president of the St. James Central Branch. The social led by the St. James North Branch president opened with a quiz with prizes and dominoes and cards donated by the president and vice president of the St. James North and Central branches respectively. Refreshments and independence favors were provided by the St. James North and Central executive. The team effort was indeed commendable. The St. James branches, all three that is, met again on Sunday, March 24, 2024 at the Queen's College. The meeting, chaired by your esteemed president, followed the recently concluded budgetary debate. We were pleased to have hosted as guest speaker the Honourable Ryan Strawn, Minister in the Ministry of Finance, along with the members of Parliament for St. James, Senior Minister Kerry Simmons, Honourable Sandra Husbands, and of course, our own Edmund Hinkson. On the lead up to the 2023 annual conference, St. James North participated in the BLP Community Karaoke Competition. Each constituency was asked to host a preliminary at a local bar. Our preliminary was held at Sonia's Bar in Yearwood Road in Mount Stamford, Friday, September 22nd, 2023. Thanks are extended to floor member Jude Eastman, who was instrumental in pulling this activity together, as well as all those who came, sang, cheered, and voted. The following persons advanced to round 2. Saturday, October 14th, the larger Northern Zone competition at the Crystal Outback in Orange Hill, St. James, but in the St. Andrew constituency. Roscoe Bell, Bernadine Skeet, Brenda Ismail. Bernadine Skeet made it to the finals at the annual conference at the Darrell Jordan Secondary School. Under the St. James Riding Strong banner, St. James North, Central, and South continued to collaborate for other national party events. Now in its third year, we continue to unite for the annual conference, in seating and luncheon arrangements, as well as the annual Founders Day, Heroes Day picnic. A planning committee of a cross-section of the parish's constituency's executives have been tasked with the provision of meals daily. It must be noted that our respective members of parliament from St. James provided support by donations to the larger infrastructure and hospitality and this evening's guest speaker. On behalf of St. James North, please accept our deepest gratitude. Tasked by our party's leader, each branch has been asked to revitalize its membership drive, especially those in the 25 to 35 age groups. St. James North, in its mission to reestablish our presence as a leading community grouping, we were one step ahead. With the forging of our campaign and membership subcommittees, to date, we have subscribed 10 new members through the perseverance of our Vice President, Christina Haynes. Please.
And now we're enjoying growth. It did not come easy, because why? Whilst we were doing that, we had different challenges. We had COVID, you had the ash, you had a whole number of different things that threaten our potential for growth. But whilst we were doing that, there still remain some things that we have to treat to at the local level. And why do I say that? Because you can grow here macro, but if you don't have programs on the ground to help communities to be able to unlock those potential opportunities, you're going to have a huge gap. And therefore, I want to use the opportunity also to say how pleased I was to have learned about the significant work that the MP and his foundation, the Clarkson Foundation, was doing with respect to work on the ground here in the constituency. I remember, Eddie, you invited me to one of the sessions here on a Saturday, and then I was able to see all of the different activities and training, and a lot of you actually are here in the crowd now. And that training proved significantly useful, building capacity for families, helping them to understand how to manage their affairs, but manage their affairs in a way that it can help them to be empowered in a changing Barbados, giving them the capacity and the new tools to help them to navigate sometimes what can be difficult waters on the ground. And therefore, programs like that, in my view, ought to be seen as a model for what can be also done across Barbados. And I want to take this opportunity to say to you, and I think I mentioned this before at the graduating ceremony of that program, that this is the sort of model that ought to be replicated across the country, of course, with the requisite resources, but it goes to the heart of ensuring that our people have the requisite tools and the ability to be able to scale opportunities in a way that they've not been able to do before. But I want to go on. When I look at St. James North, and this is not just to the executive, but this is to the wider branch and to the community as well. This constituency, in my view, serves as a microcosm, a snapshot of really what Barbados is. This constituency is coastal, it is rural, it has an urban corridor, it has a tourism belt, it has agricultural lands, it has sporting prowess. Just up the road here, you have the Morrises, you have the Hurleys, you have the Drakes, you have the Gibsons who play for West Indies. So everything that you can think about that what a country should look like in terms of excellence and the ingredients to grow, St. James North has. And the question now becomes, how does the branch with the MP, who has a clear vision for the development of the constituency, work to unearth all of that potential, notwithstanding the diversity within the boundaries of St. James North? And it is that diversity, in my view, that presents the opportunity, therefore, for this constituency to be the beacon of where Barbados needs to go as a developing nation, and soon to be a developed nation, perhaps within the next 10 to 15 years as we continue to grow. But equally, notwithstanding that there are opportunities, there are some challenges that, of course, we as a country have to treat to. There's no secret, of course, Hurricane Beryl caused a significant set of disruption a couple weeks ago when it hit. Not directly in terms of coming over land, but of course based on the wind coming from the southwest up. We saw what happened to the port, the fishing sector, which also impacted the fishing community in this constituency, but also the coastal lands and the sea, as it were, then took off a significant chunk from north down to south of our beach. The West Coast, of course, as they say, pays the bills in the country in terms of our tourism economy. And therefore, the question now becomes, notwithstanding that the government is doing what it needs to do to rebuild in a resilient way, how do we now use the opportunity, Eddie, and to your team, to ensure that coastal communities in St. James North and further afield, but starting here, have the tools to become resilient, to adapt to this new climate crisis that will continue to happen? Because let's face it, the climate crisis, unfortunately, not by our own making as a small state, is going to continue to have impact on our country and our coast. And therefore, I would like to work with you in creating a coastal community resilience program, so as to be able to help those particularly on the coast to be able to adapt to new realities, whether it be in terms of infrastructure, working of course with Coastal Zone Management Unit, whether it be in terms of jobs, what are the new jobs in a changing environment, given the challenges of coastal development, but equally helping them to come up with new ideas, not just for Barbados, but leveraging our platform in CARICOM and further afield, and helping people to build out a new reality wherever challenges like that may exist around the world. Secondly, you have opportunities in terms of sporting legacy. Why am I talking about sporting legacy and excellence? We just held the T20 World Cup finals, and of course the tournament. We had a number of games here. And given the fact that you have all of this cricketing excellence within this constituency, and further north, the north of Barbados continues to produce a high level and number of cricketers. Whether you're talking about basketball, you're talking about gays, it doesn't matter. The north continues to produce. But we now have to turn all of that into that sporting hub, where we can now not just say, this is where you produce world-class cricketers, but you inspire now the architecture of sports and turning that into a business for people who want to do the training in sports, helping people to understand how can you even maximize the benefits through areas of, the massaging of athletes, sports management, because it's not just on the field and on the play, but there's tremendous potential that people can have in the entire environment of sporting excellence. And therefore, I want to make a commitment to you, not just to the MP, but to the wider constituency of St. James North through the various programs to ensure that you can now build out, as Barbados economy continues to grow, how do you now tap in to that level of growth? And that brings me to my next point. The Barbados economy is growing. You've heard the governor of the central bank a week and a half ago talk about the second quarter of growth. So we had first quarter, over 4% of growth. Second quarter, the same. And the question now becomes, given that nationally we are growing here, tourism numbers are up, people are coming into Barbados, the investor confidence has returned to the country, how is St. James North and the people and the communities tapping into that growth? What are the ideas that you have that you can plug in? As they say, I think Stiffy, who says in his song, plug into all. How do you now plug into that growth that is there so that it now flows into what you're doing? So whether you have ideas for small business, whether that be in being a nail tech, whether that be in terms of exporting your ideas across CARICOM, you name it. The constituency, the branch, has to work hand in hand through its programs to create now ways that people can unleash their ideas into reality. And when you start to see that, you're going to see tremendous growth now, not just in terms of economic development, but people development. And there are a lot of young men and women who want the opportunity to grow, but they just need that guidance. And I see the branch and the communities working hand in hand, the churches, to help people to realize their potential. When you look at where we've come from as a nation over the last 300 years, our history has not been an easy one. It has not been one that it was in a straight line. But despite every single obstacle that we have faced as Barbadians, we've been able to come through. Why? At the core of our nature as Barbadians, we're resilient. Give a Beijing a challenge. Put his back against the wall, and you will see the best ideas coming out from him or her. Why? Because that is who we are as a people. But we must now turn that into now an opportunity for resilience and growth. Two key words this evening, if you remember anything that I say. Resilience, that leads to growth. And every single thing that we do on the ground must now translate into that. And as we go forward, you will see a situation where people come forward with ideas, not just for the constituency, but really and truly, I want to see a situation where people can be working in St. James North, but they export their ideas to the world. And why do I say that? If Barbados is to continue to enjoy the quality of life that we've hitherto enjoyed, it will require for us to use the same ingredients that we've had, particularly post-independence, but in a way that we've not done up to this point. And what do I mean by that? Right now, the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Investment is building out what I call the knowledge-based economy. In simple terms, for the last 30, 40, 50 years, we've placed a high premium as a country on certifications. So whether that be CXCs, CAPE, A-levels, associate degree, bachelor's, master's, PhD, you name it. But what that has done, and rightfully so, is that it has allowed people really to get higher incomes, better pay, which is good, perfect, so that you tick that box. But in order for us to grow to the next level, the true potential that we have as Barbadians, we now have to turn those certifications now into knowledge. So the idea is not getting the certifications now to work for an entity or government only, or you name it. We must now re-engineer our young people and our people to use those certifications and experience, because experience doesn't only come when you have a certificate or a degree. Your life experience must now be turned into an opportunity for export. And Barbados must become that country where once you can conceive it, it must be an idea that can be exported around the world. So what I encourage Barbadians to do, Eddie, is to look around the global community. We have something here that 30, 40 years ago, our foreparents didn't have. We have it right in our hands, our fingertips. Internet, technology. Look around the world to see what challenges are there that we can now create solutions for those spaces, whether it be in Africa, the Arab world, Europe, North America, Latin America, Asia, does not matter. Using your certifications and your ideas, your ingenuity, your experience, now come up with novel and new ways to solve problems around the world. It can't just be that things, for example, like Facebook, that we all use, TikTok, Instagram, comes from the global north, and we just become consumers of those products. We have to now create our own platforms, our own ideas, and export to the world. We are a country that have produced the greatest cricketer in the world. Not so? We have been the country that has now the greatest entertainer and business mogul on earth. Another national hero, Rihanna. It is in our DNA to be world leaders. It is in our DNA to be excellent in what we do. But we must now create such a country that people believe once you are born here or you reside here in Barbados, that it is your legacy to be world class. That must now be the minimum of how we get our people to think in everything we do. And it also goes back to the communities and the families. And why am I saying this? And I'm proud and happy that I'm saying this evening in the presence of my mom, who's right here at the front, the second row. Why is it important? People often think that to achieve and to succeed and to be world class, that you have to come from, I don't know, a gold spoon, or being rich, or a good family, quote unquote. I am proud to tell you, I grew up in a poor home. I wasn't rich. My mother used to work in industry in Newton. How many of you remember the industry in Newton? But commitment between her and my dad, and discipline, and I say discipline because I wasn't always the most straight and narrow young man in terms of my will. Sometimes you want to go outside and play whenever everybody outside had to play, and you had to be inside focusing on your homework. But what it did, it provided a platform of discipline, and discipline, therefore, is the precursor for success. Why am I using that as an example? Because equally, I grew up in a situation where my parents did on the side backyard farming. That sent me to school. That was able to pay and build the house that they now live in and do many other things and still produce, in my view, a young man who has contributed to his country. Equally, in St. James North, in the city, in St. Philip, St. Andrew, it doesn't matter. There are thousands of households who have the same thing. And therefore, it must now resonate in our mind as a people that once you live in this country, you can do anything. It does not matter where you're from. It does not matter your economic background, your social class. Barbados must now become a hub for excellence, which, in other words, we must churn out. We must produce world class in everything: cricket, sports, tourism, infrastructure, construction, music, arts. Once we can conceive it, we must achieve it. And we have to create the necessary systems through community programs, through the branches, working with the private sector, working with civil society, so that Barbados now becomes the global hub of excellence for everything that we can think about. Because we're small enough to do it. We're not a landmass as large as Europe. We're very, very small. And therefore, we can become very nimble. And that has to be part and parcel of what we are doing as a country. And I just want to very briefly talk about the importance of faith. Everybody has their right to choose what faith they pursue and what higher being they ascribe to. I ascribe to Christianity. That's my choice. But irrespective of what you choose to believe in, we have to get back to those core values of faith. A lot of what we are seeing today manifesting in our young people is as a result of that loss of faith-based activities, or even being considerate to the idea that there's a higher being than us. Because once you believe in those values, you will start to realize, you know what, I don't only think about myself and my actions, but the actions that I have can be either positive or negative towards my fellow man. And we have to get back to those key principles and core values that made Barbados what it was as a nation. So therefore, as you grow and as you become prosperous as an economy, it mustn't only be that you're having all the right indicators here, but the Barbadian society must also be a society that is grounded in ethics, grounded in fairness, grounded in I am my brother's or sister's keeper, so that we can become the most resilient, the most prosperous, and the most just society. In order to be a just society, it has to have serious, significant core values that drive how we do things, how we speak to each other, how we do business. Punctuality is another thing. Everybody laughs, but no way. That's a key thing that if we are to be competitive, and I can tell you, I've lived in Europe for 14 years. And I'll give you my example, in particular Switzerland. The culture is of such in terms of punctuality. If I say, Eddie, I'm going to meet you at 3 o'clock, and you're not there at 3:01, and I get there, Eddie's gone, you know, at 3:01. Why? It is built in, one, out of respect. I respect your time, you respect my time. Exactly. As I said, time is money. Punctuality. If we are, and you see, it's these small little things, you know. And if we can start with these small little things, believe me, when you put these small little things as a foundational base, and then you add them to the other big things that we're doing as a country, nobody in the world can stop Barbados. Keeping around your place clean. Instead of dropping it on the road litter, you drop it in the bin. And when they're in the bins, then we have to ensure, obviously, that we also place bins for people. Because the truth is, when you see a place clean, intrinsically, you're not just going to drop it on the floor. You're going to want to maintain that. So why am I saying all of this? The future of Barbados requires us to use the ingredients that we have of excellence. And excellence is an idea. Excellence is a mindset. Excellence is a way of life. It is not a destination, it's a process. And therefore, my simple message this evening to you, because as I said, I know you have a long agenda as well. We must and will be the first country in the world that is prosperous, sustainable, resilient, and just, all four in one. We're small enough to do it. So that's my challenge for the branch and the constituency, and to Barbadians as well. And two, a country not only that when we reach that level of success, we stay there and say, okay, we've arrived. We have to constantly review that mode of excellence. It must be a part and parcel of who we are all the time. Because why? There's a temptation, in Barbados. When you achieve, you then sit back and say, you know what, we have the best education system in the world, we have the best in the Caribbean, etc., etc. Complacency must not be part of our legacy. Complacency must not be part of our legacy. What must be part of our legacy is success and the reviewing of that success to keep striving for new heights. Thirdly, humility. I remember, and I always live by it, Owen Arthur, he used to always say, and it stuck with me, never lose the sense of your own unimportance. I'll repeat it again. Steve, you're laughing because it's true. You remember that when he used to say it? Never lose the sense of your own unimportance. So whilst we become successful as a country, or we do well in sports, or we do well in the community, or we do well in the branch, or we do well as a party, we must remain humble. We must remain humble. Because why? In so doing, blessings will continue. There's a verse, my mother, I'm sure she will probably smile or laugh when I say this, but there's a verse which talks about, if you humble yourself, I will exalt you. But if you exalt yourself, what does he say? I will humble you. And that second humble is different to the first humble, It's a different kind of humbling. Why am I saying this? We have the ingredients to be the best country in the world. I ain't just saying it, I know it. I've lived abroad for 14, 15 years. I've been in different fora. And we have all of the ingredients to make Barbados a world-class, powerful nation. If Singapore can do it, roughly the same size as Barbados, no natural resources, 5 million people, and an economy larger than Britain, why can't we do the same thing and more? There's nothing stopping us. It just needs a bit of discipline, refocus, retooling. And with the vision that Prime Minister Morley has set out for Barbados, we are already on that road. But we need you in the communities, in the shops, in the streets, in the schools, in the churches, to now also look at that vision and run with it in your own way. Run your own race in the broader race of where Barbados is going. And you will start to see a country that not only will continue to grow, but will have different opportunities in different ways. And I want to say this lastly. Opportunities must not only mean doctor, lawyer. Which one? Call it? Bank manager. No. The skills required for us to be a world-class nation within the next 10, 15, 20 years requires us to think completely different than we've been thinking up to this point. And therefore, our young people at schools must now be given the opportunity to flourish and to thrive, to put their ideas out there. I remember going to school and it used to perturb me. I was talkative. Not disruptive, but talkative. And they would say, Chad, put your hands on your lips. Stop talking. But then when you get to secondary school, Eddie, they want you to be the greatest orator. When you got into school sports and you win a race or you come third or whatever, they throw a microphone in front of your mouth. And they expect you to be the greatest orator to do an interview. After telling me from age 2, 3, 4, 5, stop talking. No, cannot work. So we have to re-engineer culturally also how we treat our talent, our resource, our skill set on the ground. Because why? When we send our people around the world, they have to interface with the media. They have to interface with colleagues. And therefore, that shyness, people aren't born shy, Shy is a learned behavior. So we have to stop with this cagey. But I get it. It came out of 300-400 years of a colonial experience. And you have to break it. But you, and this is why it's so important what we're doing at the branch level, start here. As I tell you, St. James North, in my view, can be that subset of what the Barbados of tomorrow can look like and must look like. And that's my simple challenge to all of us. And I want to work with you in helping to unearth that, because believe you me, you have all, not some, not most, St. James North, Eddie, has all of the ingredients to be a powerful subset of what the future of Barbados can look like and must look like. I mean, those simple words, this isn't a lot of long talk. I want to encourage the new executive, post your election this evening, to continue to work with the MP, to continue to do the fantastic work that you've been doing on the ground, get out there and sell the message of the Labour Party, sell the message of the government, sell the message of prosperity, of hope, of humility, all the things that I mentioned. And believe you me, I believe that this time so next year at the next AGM, we can then now have a reference point to compare where we were, was growing, to where we're going even further. And once you put God at the front, keep me immortally as your Prime Minister, and run behind this man here, the only way is forward. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
The only way is forward. Senator Chad Blackman reminded us that resilience, we must have the resilience that leads to growth, and we must conceive exportable ideas, and discipline is a precursor for success. So we must remember these points. Thank you very much, Senator Chad Blackman. At this time, we want to get into elections, but I'm going to invite anyone who hasn't paid their $10 fees and they wish to vote to come up here to the side of the table and pay them now, so that you'll be able to vote. We'll be looking for president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and floor members. President, vice president, treasurer, secretary, assistant secretary, public relations officer, and floor members. So that's about at least 5 positions we are going to be searching and seeking for. So I'm just going to take a few minutes and invite anybody who wishes to vote at this time to come and pay their $10 so that you would be a valid member of the branch, so that you'll be able to cast your vote and participate in this part of the election of officers. After the elections of officers, we'll have our address by our own MP, the Honorable Edmund Hinkson, and then we'll have question and answers, and then we can close. So at this time, come up and pay your dues to allow you to vote.
Good afternoon. Jude. Hello. He's on. Good afternoon, comrades. Hello. Good afternoon, comrades. Any persons who want to pay their $10 can come now before we start. What's it?
almost more than 1 year this time. Last time I was doing UE, so I had to take a step back. So this time I am hoping that it would continue to do more than just 1 year. So I want to say thank you. Okay, so at this time now we're going to have our MP, Mr. Edmund Hinkson. He's going to give you guys some remarks and let you know what he has been doing for the past couple of months for this year so far. I know that he just arrived yesterday and he's leaving again. So I'm going to take it over to him now so that he gets a chance to rest.
Good evening, everyone. I feel that I've been out of the country for a while, and then pushing off end of this week again. It's time to China leading a parliamentary delegation. But first, protocol, Senator Andre Boyce, my close partner in the cause of disabilities. I messaged him yesterday and told him that he needs to come, and by that affirmative action I knew Andre would be here. As I said when he spoke and gave his story in March, in the month of the disabled, I said that if I were going to war, Andre would have to be with me. Extremely loyal and reliable. Senator Chad Blackman, first time, of course, Chad is addressing this branch. And Chad spoke extremely well. I agree with 100% of what he said in terms of the sociology of this constituency and its locus within the framework of Barbados. I would not have wanted to represent any other constituency or any other people than St. James North. That is the truth. And new executive, congratulations. And after I speak, or after questions and answers, which Chad and I would take, we'll have a group photo of all the exec who is here for the record. Jefferson, St. James North man originally, well, it was St. Peter when he was born and resided, but of course it's St. James North in Roadview, and you know, a close friend of this constituency and indeed the whole of St. James, and of course our visitors who are here, the faithful, and look forward, thank you for coming, and you know, everybody else, constituents. First want to speak a little on the constituency because all politics is local, that is the truth. And don't mind, you know, of course, I have been overseas a lot recently representing the country, and of course Chad does as well. All politics is local. So in terms of the constituency, roads, we know that roads was a bugbear up to December last year, but by the latest count, 12 roads have been repaired, and quite honestly, that's the most in any constituency since December last year that have been repaired outside of the city and St. Michael West, I believe, and for obvious reasons, because they were the two constituencies where the World Cup was being played out. And therefore, nobody can complain that a lot of roads were repaired in those two constituencies. So, in fact, I must give you a little secret. Some of my parliamentary colleagues felt that St. James North got too many compared to what they got. But the reality, and all of us know, is certainly since I became member of Parliament almost 12 years ago, only 3 roads were repaired in St. James North in that period before December. So we were owed road repairs. And the Honorable Minister of Transport and Works, Public Works, the Deputy Prime Minister, when she gave the feature address at the Clarkson Foundation's graduation of Parent Educational and Personal Development Program a couple months ago, of which at least 3 or 4 graduates are here. She said that I had asked her for about 66 roads. I wrote numerous letters. So I gladly take some of the credit for some of the road repairs, but they were terrible. So that's no longer an issue. Some still need to be done, of course, in Aston Hall especially, and the WIM, and hopefully they will be done before the elections. The fish market, virtually completed. Fair, of course, lives across the road from it. I haven't been there for the 3 weeks, of course, that I was out of the island until yesterday when I returned. But I believe it is virtually finished and almost ready to be opened. And it is state-of-the-art facility, as you see. The old fire station, of course, is being used by the coastal management zone. Is being invested in them. I believe that they have to undergo some repairs because that building has not been in use since May 2017, when the last DLP government ignominiously closed it down without telling you all the constituents, not even telling me your representative. But clearly coastal management is a major part of what we are right now. Chad spoke about the need for resilience, our susceptibility and our vulnerability as a small island developing state. And this certainly is key. And Chad, as Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs, would have signed on to an agreement about 5 months ago, 4 months ago, in Dominican Republic, whereby Barbados government getting a loan of about $50 million, and part of that loan is to be used to buttress this coast, this constituency, especially the Roadview area, Roadview to Sherman's, Mullins rather, up to Sherman's, including therefore Roadview, which is under severe pressure whenever we have adverse weather conditions. When, in the aftermath of Beryl, Chad and I would have, as many of you all know, come into the constituency to see the damage. The first stop we made was in Weston that afternoon. And we know this is the bugbear that we face now. Nothing to do with us, Barbados, and indeed CARICOM, the Caribbean, not being party to the circumstances that have resulted in adverse climatic conditions that affect us at least for 6 months, half of every year. But we are the victims of it. And this is serious cause. More and more developed, or leaders of developed nations are coming to understand the cause, of course, which our Prime Minister has been leading from the front at the global level in terms of making the world know in various international forums and in dialogues one-on-one with world leaders the difficulty and challenges of our small island developing states when it comes to climatic conditions. So the government is trying its best to make Barbados as resilient as possible. You have to do your part, though. The people have to do their part, because a government can't be behind you, as Chad said, when you drop a piece of paper out of a minibus when you're sitting down, or a chefette box, or when you put old fridge and old washing machine out in a gully. And we know last year, wasn't it, Mount Stanfast, they had a whole set of garbage out there and rain pouring, you know, in a flood-prone area. That is the truth. But then government now supposed to come when your house damaged. As a result of that, government supposed to repair it. Can't be fair. You have to do your part. Make sure we're in the middle of the hurricane season, that your whole neighborhood and your surroundings are as flood-prone proof as possible. Drainage, of course, that leads into, yes, we still have issues of drainage, of course. Some of our constituencies below sea level trench, and the government is carrying out a consultancy on the trench area, which has befuddled the minds of many engineers. That is the truth over the years. Jude, for example, would know Jude from Church Point, just side of Trent. And Jude is about, how long now? 50 years? That Trent's flooding up after 5 minutes of heavy rainfall. But the government is aware of it. Santia Bradshaw, the Prime Minister, I've taken the Prime Minister there on 2 occasions. And hopefully some relief should come. As relief has come to Sion Hill through the development, the works that were done in terms of drainage, that was December 2021. We have the realignment of the Zone 1 regulations, whereby indoor toilet facilities couldn't be built in Zone 1 areas, as we know, and many parts of our constituency are in Zone 1. So unless your house or a house was situated on some areas of the constituency before 1975, you couldn't get indoor water facilities. That has been changed by legislation, by order, and now it is possible to get permission to have indoor toilet facilities in some areas where you couldn't get before. And Aston Hall, of course, is a key area with that lower down here in Rotterdam, for instance, some areas of Carlton. You have to put in a septic tank. There are conditions for the installation of waterborne facilities, but there has been movement on that. Because after all, one of our election pledges in 2018 was the eradication of all pit toilets in Barbados by 2027. That's not going to be realized because COVID set back that target, as it did many other targets, but we hope that gradually, certainly in St. James North, pit toilets will no longer be a present factor. We have the housing, and must say that I'm disappointed in Rural Development Commission. This is no secret. They know I'm disappointed in them too. And I plan to speak about it at first opportunity in Parliament, that they need to do more in terms of rehabilitating and renovating some of the most vulnerable houses in Barbados. They have done some, and for that I am happy, and I've given them credit on behalf of the people. But more needs to be done, and I believe that more can be done. Even though they've done a couple houses in Sion Hill, Roadview, Aston Hall, there's still others. And I really hope that during this financial year, their heads could be put to the task so that more people in St. James North, those who are the most vulnerable, in other words, old people, pensioners, people with disabilities, women who probably have 5, 6 children, who are not sustaining themselves as well as they can, because housing is a major challenge, as we know, in this country. In terms of what we have done, either myself personally or through my foundation, of course, proud to have had the parent education and personal development program. Sorry that more men didn't participate. It was predominantly women. Only one man, Fabian Thornhill, who is back on the executive this year, but everyone, I believe, really benefited from that program, and certainly we look forward to having another one sometime during the course of next year. The we're carrying the graduating classes of this school, Gordon Greenwich Primary School and St. Albans Primary School, out next Wednesday. They said I won't be present, but I leave the children in the very capable hands of Shanice and Jonathan of my office, who know about this, what to do, and Chad has pledged that he will come along as well and see what it's like. As usual, to Parliament, because every child in this constituency must feel that they can get in Parliament, that they must be able to aspire for the top. You heard Chad speak about the excellence, which has to be our DNA. And if I could get in Parliament, I think that anyone can get in Parliament once you have the capacity and the determination and the aptitude and attitude, discipline to be able to do that. And if not Parliament, whatever you want to be, that is noble. And we're going to the fire station, Arch Hall, fire station, and then to Farley Hill. We're changing it to Farley Hill this year, as we have normally done King George V. Of course, school supplies, we're in the midst of that because children must get ready for school in, 4 weeks' time. And it can be that a parent says, I don't have money to buy the school uniforms. So, as usual, as we do every year, we're helping fund and subsidize purchase of school uniforms for some of the most vulnerable families and children in the constituency. So, these, of course, with these kind of projects and programs, you need funds. So November the 23rd, the Clarkson Foundation would be having, fundraiser that we normally have about every 18 months, again at Pier 1 Restaurant. So, I normally sell myself about 500 tickets, but certainly I'm going to be asking constituents to suggest names, give me people who I can approach, who I might not normally approach. Your employers, maybe, people who you know, who would be willing and to support what is known as a tremendous cause and what an event that has the reputation and credibility now after six efforts going back from 2014 in terms of fundraising and the pleasure that we have. In fact, about every 3 days somebody meets me or another director and says, when your next fundraiser though? Looking forward to it. So that will be on the cards November the 23rd. In terms of my reporting to you all, my travels, I just got back from the United Nations where the world negotiated a cybercrime convention against cybercrime. Everyone accepted that cybercrime is a global threat that can undermine the economic sustainability of any country. All the countries agreed with that. Where there was a difference, which in fact took 8 sessions, each of 10 days between New York and Vienna to come to an agreement. This was the 9th session. The first that I was asked to go to was in terms of the details, because as we know, there are some countries, Islamic countries, Arab countries, that even the sending of photos, what would be inappropriate photos for little children between consensual adults is not allowed. So you had to take them into account. Even though, of course, I said in Parliament earlier this year, when we were debating, I can't remember which bill it was, may have been the child justice or child protection bill, that my advice to women is don't send any pictures of yourself nowhere to no man All right, that is my view. And what I said had wide consensus because my statements were published in other Caribbean papers. But that it is not illegal. But in some Arab countries, all of them, and Islamic, it is illegal. And then, of course, on the other hand, you have America where freedom of speech is valued. It is what? The First Amendment, I believe, to the Constitution. So, you know, they would not agree that malicious communications per se should be in the convention. So you have to run a tight rope. And we as a CARICOM working together from the beginning on this cause, all 15 of our nations. And quite honestly, I was proud at how CARICOM cooperated and joined together in the 2 weeks that I was there to help realize this convention. On more than one occasion, the chairman, who is an Algerian female diplomat, praised CARICOM together with the European Union, which is the only region in the world which has a cybercrime convention already. But she singled out the CARICOM and the European Union on helping her negotiate this convention. And of course, I will be signing the report tomorrow for our cybercrime bill, because we have to have cybercrime legislation. I think the decision was wisely taken after that bill left the elected parliament and was in the Senate by Chad and Andreli to send it to a joint select committee, of which I'm the chairman, Policy and Governance Committee. And everybody who had something to say about it then had the opportunity to come and say. Everybody was disappointed that a former Senator, Caswell Franklin, didn't have the courage to come, but others came, spoke, took written submissions. We engaged them, a couple of them. Afterwards, realized, but look, this really isn't what it was. And, you know, there are some people that, and I call them the usual suspects, that were marching up and down. I haven't heard of any marches recently. I suppose we had crop over, so that was why. But marching up and down, which, as I always say, is their constitutional right. And I defend their constitutional right to march up and down if they want to, like Jack and Jill up the hill, right? But I also have the constitutional right to say that they're talking political foolishness, right? And some of them don't like when I say that. But we gave them the opportunity, and we're suggesting some amendments. The minister, Marsha Carroll, who is the minister who laid the bill in Parliament, led the debate, she herself conceded to take out some of the words in the two sections that are the most controversial, clauses 19 and 20 on malicious communication and cyberbullying. So we're making a few amendments to that, and it's to be laid in the Senate. Chad and Andreli, I'm not so sure when next y'all meeting now. Y'all adjourned until September as well. But don't you all have to go back in Parliament to get the adjournment? The last time you all met, you adjourned to September, or you adjourned Sinai Day? Okay. So in September, so we'll be back before Houses of Parliament in September for debate, for us to get cybercrime legislation to stop, at least to penalize some of the foolishness that's happening, where people feel they have license to talk anything about people and invade your privacy. 2 months ago was at the UN as well on disabilities, and Andreli and Janelle Odell, an attorney at law, blind attorney at law, are leading the implementation of the policy on disabilities, which was approved by Cabinet in September last year. Andreli and Janila employed as consultants in the Ministry of People's Empowerment to try to put in place this policy, which is extremely important. As you all know, I regard it as my main policy area. So we look forward to soon, within the foreseeable future, having the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Bill brought before Parliament as well for debate. It's been said that that will go before Joint Select Committee after being laid. That'll be the Select Committee on Social Policy. So it was great being at the UN for that as well, to hear what all the countries in the world which have signed on to disabilities, the Convention on the Rights of Disabilities, and there's only one country, I believe, that hasn't signed on, what they are doing in terms of how they're advancing the rights of people with disabilities. Earlier this year, I was in Angola on African, Caribbean, Pacific, European Union business, and of course, we now have the Samoa Agreement, a furtherance of trade partnership and whole economic development between the European countries and our country, and in fact all the CARICOM countries. Because as a practical example, European Union gives us assistance, both technical and financial, in terms of our resilience to climatic changes and adverse weather conditions. And they're also helping, for example, in terms of our digitalization of our economy and of our government departments. So this is a very important project and program as well. So, you know, it is an opportunity, and I thank the branch for giving me this opportunity to report that when I'm out of the island, that I'm not frolicking but serving on behalf of wider Barbados and obviously people of St. James North. But I always leave my office in capable hands of Shanice and Jonathan and keep in touch with them every day as to what's going on here. So we thank you all again, the executive, new executive, and the previous executive for the service to the constituency, the branch, and to the Barbados Labour Party. I should also mention that while I was in New York last Thursday, I had the pleasure to speak with the Barbados Labour Party branch in New York. The Consul General, Lorenzo Harewood, who is a former senator. He is up there as Consul General, and he arranged that. So I believe I was the first in what he hopes will be opportunities for parliamentarians to speak with Bajan New Yorkers when they visit New York. Among the audience was our own constituent, Beverly Husbands from Mount Stanfast. Don't mind Beverly, has been living in New York for many, many years. She's still on the voters list here and a member of this branch. And she comes down virtually every conference in October as part of the New York BLP branch. Andrea Husband's sister, Andrea Staunch, member of the Garden Church of God. So that was a very good engagement. Present there was former Consul General Jessica Odell as well, and Tony Bess, the reporter. So it was great, great opportunity. And afterwards, some good old Bajan food, including some pudding and sauce, and macaroni, and fish cakes. So, I left voting because the voting was that afternoon, and Lorenzo took me to the meeting at the Ex-Police Association. And, of course, the Ex-Police Association in New York, as we all know, is a strong association of Barbadians there. So we look forward to this coming year. Our conference, of course, coming up in a couple months' time. And I implore everyone, we passed midterm already, It looked like if election was just the other day. But we passed midterm. And we may very well be way past midterm, because you have to keep in mind that the last election was called after 3 years, 8 months. And we're already into 2 years, 7 months. And under our Constitution, a Prime Minister has the right to call an election whenever he or she chooses. And you may want to call an election when an opposition down. And right now, I don't know. I have said the Democratic Labour Party is a lobby group. That is the truth. Some of us in here are old enough, including me, to know the DLP when it was at full strength. That is the truth. Sandy's father, Ronnie Fields, ran against the DLP in St. Michael, South, 1981, when the DLP was at full, well, no, it wasn't at full strength then, because Tom Adams was Prime Minister, but certainly by 1986 it was at full strength. That is the truth. I know the DLP then, and what is the DLP now can't be called a political party. That is a mere lobby group that bought the place, or pressure group, maybe within the terms of political philosophy and nomenclatures is a pressure group. Because I don't know. A group of people that cut into one another, fighting over what, I don't know, because they don't have any power or authority. And if they continue that way, it will be a long time before they have any of that. So this year, Christina and your executive, is a key year to get things in place for the next election. You do not want to wait until an election call to now be getting things in place. So you need to do some logistics, some fundraising, some reaching out to people, maybe getting a few more branch members, certainly, and, getting your troops together for the battle that will come, I don't know when, but certainly I would think within the next 2 years. So it's been a pleasure having the opportunity to speak, and always know that I will try my best. I give 150% till the end, and I'm happy that Chad has pledged to assist in the endeavors with St. James North, recognizing, of course, that this is the best constituency in Barbados in terms of people, in terms of location, in terms of the blend between urban, rural, sports, agriculture, tourism, entertainment, beaches, and everything. I thank you.
Okay, so we have some light refreshments, just drinks in the back that you guys can. Oh, anybody has any questions for Mr. Hinkson or Mr. Blackman? Any questions? Oh.
Yeah, I got a question about the, you're getting a lot of rumors about zoning in the district of Rotterdam, is a zone where, as a water zone as we know it, where it got building restrictions, and it's being rumored that that should change in the near future, and I wonder if you could bring any clarity to that.
Right. Right. Well, you've given me the opportunity to expand because remember I briefly mentioned about that Parliament passed the water, an amendment to the Barbados Water Authority Act it was around September, October last year, which by section 27 allowed for the minister to make orders realigning zones. This has been in the works for a long time. You know, before you had zones 1 to 5, and you couldn't put indoor toilet facilities in zone 1. So as you said, Rotunda, some parts of Rotunda are like that. The Waymaston, some parts of Lower Carlton. And even, let's say, across the border in Lancaster, where Hope are building the houses, is just across our border, because the other side is St. James North, across from Greenwich. All of those 159 houses have storage tanks, storage system, because there is water zone. So it's not a rumor.
No. So what I'm trying to understand is that
Right.
existing structures who want to upgrade more or less,
Right.
you're putting something in place for that. What I'm saying
Yeah,
is...
well, you have to apply, though, for permission to the Water Authority. All right? And their standard response is to give permission, but with the condition that you put the technology, the storage system, I think the suck well, it is. Boy, I got it right down. You know what I mean? I'm not too technical. But you have to put some things in place, so it's going to cost some money. All right? But that you will get basic permission with conditions. Now, I know that the Prime Minister has said that she's going to look to see if in some of the most vulnerable cases, government may be willing to subsidize that cost, but such hasn't been put in place. So anyone who wants to make that change, I am advising, and they can be advised to apply to the Water Authority, go in there and apply to them for the permission. All right? So that has been changed now. It's now zones A to F rather than 1 to 5. And of course, the Prime Minister is now Minister for the Water Authority. So she has taken this responsibility under her wing. So that we don't have people peeing in the water. Well, that was so for a long time, where I clearly that is why you had the zones. Thank you. All right, good. That's why you had the zones. It is impossible to police bad behavior all the time. Let's face that fact. And obviously we all know that you had illegal squatting in certain areas in Barbados. But as I said, government is doing its best in terms of putting stipulations so that the integrity of our water system could still be protected and maintained as best as possible. Any others? Any other comments, questions? Okay. Christina, I was saying that we could get photos of the exec. I don't know who would take, or if you just take with your cameras. I could call up
No problem.
the exec could take by themselves, I think, and then I could join in, and then Chad and I could join in. All right? So you have that.